Hey boys and girls, it's me. And today we're going to get back to that H500. And I'm going to show you how to take the appropriate steps to actually we'll test it, to check the chassis and see if the radio is actually going to be a player or not. And if it's not, then what we'd have to do to see if it's going to be a player. So, hey, stay tuned. This radio, along with the G500, had basically the same tube complement on here. Let me get a better view up here. Over here in the corner, over by the bread slicer here, this is the 1L6. Up front toward the back of the chassis here, we have not one but two 1U4s. And then over here, now some radios had a 1U5 and some had a 1S5. The earlier runs used the 1S5. This particular one has a 1U5, and then last but not least a 3V4, which was the audio output tube. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just, before we do anything else, we're going to test the tubes. And this is generally a good thing to do when you're working on any radio, is to, before you check to see if the radio works or not, test all your tubes. It's really a good idea.
Houston, we have a problem.
Alright, boys and girls, I just found something rather interesting and dangerous. Actually, I don't like this. It's really not funny because it's dangerous right here. Okay, you see that thing with the fins here on over here, where I got the pointer? Okay, what that is what's called a selenium rectifier. Now, what this does, it actually works like a diode, and what it does is it takes half the AC leg and then kind of converts it into DC right here. Now, what makes this kind of dangerous is you look to the left of that, this guy right here where I got the pointer, that is a conventional diode. I didn't look to see what the number is on it, but what happens is, or what the way Zenith originally had made this was, this would actually make your AC into DC, and then you'd have this where you see this reddish brown looking thing right here. Well, that's actually a resistor, okay, with some taps on it, and this would drop the voltage when it reached this resistor. Now what would happen is, by the time you get to the last leg of this resistor, it's supposed to drop the voltage down to roughly, if you look at the schematic here, your AC power going in here, and then it has an adapter. It shows your adapter socket. What this is that you could actually, as an option, you could actually buy a 220 volt converter for the radio, so you can run this in Europe and run this on 220 instead of 120 or 115. Anyway, this leg here is going to the selenium rectifier. You can see that right here. Okay, and then it goes up, goes across that red, orangey, brown dropping resistor. Then ultimately between this leg and then ground, you should have 105 volts DC. Alright, so what happens is, after a while, these things start to not work as well as they used to. So the actual voltage starts lessening and lessening and lessening to the point where these guys actually, now I've never seen one do it, but I've heard that they smoked and they could create a fire and it could be dangerous. So what a repair person did was they took a diode and they actually connected it in parallel with the original selenium rectifier, which probably made the radio work, but really is actually not a good idea. You should either be using this replacement diode by itself, or the original selenium rectifier by itself. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little experiment. I'm going to disconnect this diode. We'll try it off the original selenium rectifier, bring it up on Variac and take some voltage readings and see where we stand with it. And if that's no good, we'll try this diode all by itself and then take some voltage readings, and we may have to replace this resistor. Sometimes when you change these, go from this style selenium rectifier to this one, or this diode, the voltage becomes higher, and then you may end up ultimately having to replace this resistor right here because of the higher voltage. So let's give that a shot. Okay, the radio is plugged into the Variac is plugged into the main power, and now I'm going to start bringing the power up. Let's see what happens. Now again, we're working off the original selenium rectifier, and I'm feeling this selenium rectifier is not going to be very good, because if you see already, the AC voltage, I'm already like up to almost 18 volts, and I'm only getting 10 volts across the dropping resistor. You really need at least 95 volts across that dropping resistor, or else the radio is not going to work right. And I can't say enough that this is just an experiment. I don't want you to do this. This is just to show you the difference. Okay, so here we go. We're going up. Actually, man, well, kind of hard to say. We're up to 56 volts DC. 70 volts on the Variac. Okay, nothing is zorched or blown up. Let's keep going. .81 volts. Once you get up to about 75 volts DC though, now I'm already up to 92 volts on the Variac, about 75 volts past the dropping resistor, but I'm not hearing anything yet. Let me keep going. I feel brave. Oh, I'm hearing something. And we're up to 115 volts on the Variac, but you see I'm only getting about 95 volts. That is just barely marginal for decent operation. So let me just turn around a little bit. That's picking up the fluorescent light that I got up here. Let me turn the light off and see if it's actually picking up any stations. Nope. I'm probably picking up a different fluorescent light. But this is actually a good sign.
Motivated to cast ballots, especially after the recent attack on police, while
wow.
other candidates were less convinced.
So my wall voltage is really about 120.
With a new ABC News Washington Post poll giving him a 42% approval rating. That's lower than any other president in the last 7 decades at the 100-day point. But among
and that's with the original selenium rectifier, but that's not to say that if this radio was playing for a little while, that could deteriorate or start dropping down. Matter of fact, if you look at it right now as I'm talking about, it's kind of fluttering around. I also hear a little bit of 60 cycle hum behind it. But this is actually a good thing. The radio is playing just the way it is. Alright, so let's disconnect that and we'll put the diode on there and see where we're at with that. Okay, here goes. And look at the difference. You see how close the voltage is now compared to the spread that we had before? We may even have to go to a bigger resistor. Bigger dropping resistor when we get to the appropriate voltage, which is not the end of the world, but we'll see. And we're going up, and wow, look at this. Okay, we're still going up. I really don't want to go beyond 105 volts.
Tonight, chilly, low 48. Tomorrow cloudy with rain in the afternoon, high 60.
I'm Bob Husler. The Yankees are trying to win a road series for the first time this season.
You can see how close that
is. For the Mets, they try to salvage the final game of their series with Washington. Senators play the Brewers.
Turn that down. Okay, so the radio is a player as is, which is actually a good sign. So I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get a bigger dropping resistor than 130 ohms. We may have to go to a 150 ohm resistor. So anyway, so we're off to a good start, and we're going to be working with a working radio. So that's a good thing. So until we get to part 3, take care. Bye. Hi, boys and girls. Hey, that's all for today. I'm out in the garage next to the radio flyer here. What we'll do is on the next video, I'll go over capacitor and/or resistor replacement It'd be difficult right now, just given the you know, the components that are in the radio to get an appropriate dropping resistor past the diode. So what we'll do is we'll probably ultimately leave that diode in there, and we'll use that to do the rectification, and then we'll just get the appropriate dropping resistor after we replace some components. So we'll do that next time around. Also, what's going to happen is now the 28th and 29th, Raceway Park, Englishtown, New Jersey is the Swap Meet and Auto Show. I'll be there, and that's why I'm standing next to the radio flyer right now. So we'll be there Friday and Saturday. Sunday we have to go to a
a family thing.
A family thing. So we can't do Sundays. Miss RW's holding the camera for me right now. So that video will come up first, and then part 3 will probably come up a couple days after that. So anyway, hey, listen, take care. Enjoy spring. Bye.